Saturday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
The wait all week long is finally over. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and much more. The Don Tony Show.
And now your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
That's right. The man, the legend. Good evening for my overseas folk. Good afternoon, good evening. Good morning for our local friends and family in the USA. It is Saturday morning around 11:05 a.m. I have yet to wipe the goo off of my eyes. It is the Don Tony Show. Welcome as always. Much love. Thank you for always supporting what we do here. We got a fun show to talk about today. We'll talk about SmackDown. Something I loved, something I did not love. I think you could probably figure out what it was. We'll talk about AEW. All of this journalistic kayfabe. It freaking continues. You remember the banner? Couple of months ago, I had MJF on the cover. Why report the story, the actual story, when you could be part of the story? All of this turmoil about CM Punk, Colt Cabana. Now we got to throw a couple of cubes of the Colt in the bullshit brew. Friends, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but believe me when I tell you, all the issues with Colt Cabana and CM Punk were addressed before CM Punk was brought into AEW. We'll talk about it later. But you know what? I will give you a little teaser. You know, everybody is focused on CM Punk going off script, cutting a promo, saying things that people didn't expect. Isn't that what CM Punk's been doing for 15 plus years? Oh my God, he called Hangman Page coward shit. Oh my God, coward shit. Everybody in the back, their balls are in a bunch.
And Hangman, if people only knew you the way that I knew you, they wouldn't be chanting cowboy shit. They'd be calling you what you really are. Coward shit.
Ooh, damn right. That last line.
Oh my God. Happy anniversary, CM Punk. 1 year ago today, I believe, he made his appearance on Rampage. Kind of odd that it doesn't feel like a national holiday on social media today. Yeah, I noticed it a couple of days ago. I said, wasn't it August 20th? Right around that time that CM Punk made his AEW debut. And everybody, oh my God, most amazing moment ever. I was there. Look, we still got loads and loads of candy, ice cream wrappers. I got ice cream wrappers up my asshole here. I was there. Pretty cool. Seems like nobody's talking about it. Kind of odd, right? Just like we talked about how Fox changed the WWE TV rating a little bit, and no one suddenly wants to talk about it. Either they have to be the ones to bring it to everybody's eyes, or they will just sit back and not waste much time about it. So we got a few things to get into today. Hey, Sev, a little tidbit. Next week, we're going to probably do a little CM Punk giveaway on the Rampage watch party, because next week's Rampage is going to be a little bit better stacked than in the past. And believe me when I tell you, when I get into that stuff a little bit later, we'll give everybody some time to get into the live venue. I hate using the word venue because I don't want to sound like I'm copying off of JD. I mean, I know a lot of podcasts use the term venue, but he's the one that, that I always hear it when I check out his stuff. And by the way, congrats to JD. For a lot of you that don't know, JD is now you have seen me push this to death. Yours truly on Pro Wrestling TV Well, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago on the watch party, but everybody agreed to keep it a secret. JD from New York was joining the family as well. So JD from New York is now a member of Pro Wrestling TV. So if you've checked out that network for my content, now you could check out the network for his content. And I will be asking JD to do a Forbidden Door episode, a little collab for an episode. We'll probably have some pretty intense debates on a lot of topics, but, it's all in good fun because, we truly respect each other's work, even though it's quite different. All right. SmackDown yesterday. I've been looking at the WWE product the last 2 weeks especially. And, I know Vince Russo got eaten alive online. Vince Russo could say, this is a used half roll of paper towels. A little bit of lint on it because it fell on the floor. And people would rip them apart. Vince Russo can never, get it in the eyes of people unless he turns around and he just goes along with the agenda online, the popular agenda. So I understand what he was trying to say, but, I think the words came out wrong. You look at the last 2 weeks as far as TV goes. We have had great matches before. Like I said, if you act like Raw and SmackDown have had no good wrestling over the last bunch of years, you're insulting every wrestler who has given 150%. And we brought up many, many match examples over the last year especially. But with Vince McMahon out of, the seat, and John Laurinaitis out of the seat, now when you show up for work, now you got a boss that you can approach. You have an environment where you feel you are going to get an opportunity. You have an environment where you feel that, if you have a great idea, that someone is really willing to listen, and you feel like someone is not going to just tell you what you want to hear. So a lot of the change with WWE is more internally than externally. The rating for Monday went right close to what it was, in the past. You're not going to see, tons of new viewers because Vince is out of office. Just like AEW, we're going to get into it a little bit later. There is cause of concern. Yes, it's sausage, because no one online is going to bring this up to you. Tony Khan is legitimately pissed off and frustrated that the ratings are not higher than what they are. I'd say about 85% of you out there expected Kenny Omega to be the partner of the Young Bucks in the Trios tournament Wednesday. If a lot of you that watch the BTE videos, there's been teasers and Easter eggs being thrown, especially with the Young Bucks being baby faces now, sort of. They're not going to, really swerve the fans. So almost all of you expected a Kenny Omega return. A lot of you out there hoped for a Kenny Omega return. Some people also felt that Hangman Page may ultimately be the tag partner. And look, I was one of them, only if Kenny Omega was not ready to come back, to return. But that anticipation, that surprise, that somebody big was going to be in that trios match with the Young Bucks, CM Punk and Jon Moxley having a confrontation, what we expected to be setting up the match at All Out. Holy shit, everybody. Not only are we not getting it at All Out as of now, when I saw that, I immediately thought Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Goldberg in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Georgia Dome. Anybody remember that with Nitro? You look at the Monday Night Wars, even the early ones that came out in the early 2000s that were not really directed and scripted, just people commenting. One of the things that people always talked about was Goldberg versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan should have headlined a pay-per-view. They sold out tens of thousands of tickets in a matter of days. We got Goldberg versus Hollywood Hogan on Nitro because Bischoff was more concerned about ratings. This is a Monday Night Wars, ratings. And instead of giving it for a pay-per-view, he threw that shit on free TV in almost no notice. See, that's the thing. You can have matches like that on free TV. You could have it on Nitro, you could have it on Raw, you could have it on Dynamite, you could have it on Rampage. But usually you hype it up for a few weeks. You have a couple of confrontations. You know, I'm not comparing, please do not twist my words. I am not comparing Moxley and Punk to Tony D'Angelo and Santos Escobar. Even if you're not a fan of NXT, even if you could care less about those two wrestlers, if you haven't seen it already, you have to go out of your way and watch the 3 or 4 minute video package hyping up their match that went down this past week at Heatwave. I was doing work and I had my volume all the way off. So I was looking at the screen. I didn't hear anything that was said, even though I've watched all the segments. But if you go back and you watch that, especially if you turn the volume all the way off, you'll swear you're watching a trailer for a movie coming up. Now, on TV, trailers are usually 30-second commercials. But how many of you back in the day, I don't know if they still do it now, but how many of you back in the day when you used to go to a movie theater, before your movie started, you would see, you know, a couple of trailers for future movies, and those trailers would run 2-3 minutes long. I watched this trailer of Tony D'Angelo and Santos Escobar. I got to be honest with you, it is by far the feud of the year in NXT, and it's one of the most well-produced segments I have ever seen in NXT, period. It looked like a trailer for a movie. I'm serious. If you watch it back, especially keep the volume off and just look at your screen and see how it was done. Whoever worked on that worked really, really hard. But see, with Goldberg and Hollywood Hogan, this came out almost out of nowhere, and the match was thrown together in a matter of days. And now you got Tony Khan giving a CM Punk versus Jon Moxley title unification on free TV in 1 week's notice. And this coincides with something we have talked about for a very long time. And there is an issue. There is concern. And I think that's part of the reason why this 1 year anniversary of CM Punk debuting on AEW television is not getting any play. Look, people are going to want to get tweet fucked later on. You know, people are going to start posting it because there's going to be a lot of people that want to celebrate it, and you're going to get people that will get a lot of attention to their accounts. I mean, it's more about the attention than actually the event. But, you know, what did we say for the last 4 or 5 months when we had that Ring of Honor shit being shoved down our throats, the New Japan stuff, which now their ratings on Access are so low, nobody covers it. When you see, you know, people getting opportunity, I know they're great matches, you know, but it also needs to make sense. And nothing against Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. The fuck are they in a trios tag team title tournament? You know, you see the brackets, the 4 matches that led to Moxley becoming interim champion. And you got people on there that aren't even regulars in AEW, and they're getting the opportunity. What kind of message does that say? You know, it's like, all right, you buy a video game and you're playing as a certain team, and, you know, you try to like cheat the code, and you're like, no, but I need this player from this company. No, I want this person to play it. No, sometimes you gotta, if you feel that your roster is not strong enough, that you cannot fill all the ingredients for a tournament with your people, well, then either you're creatively doing something wrong for a lot of people, or you're just like a spoiled, petulant child with too many toys. So for the last 5 or 6 months, I said, people do not compare the ratings truthfully, from a year ago. They'll talk about, oh, this gigantic growth in the Dynamite rating compared to a year ago, this and that. And you look at the roster from a year ago and you realize no Adam Cole, no CM Punk, no Bryan Danielson was, a little bit, they were close together. But you look at a lot of names, no Keith Lee, no Ruby Soho, no Tony Storm. There's a lot of names. There is a boatload of names that were not there 1 year ago. So for the last 4 or 5 months, we were saying CM Punk's 1 year anniversary on AEW television is going to be the turning point where people have to start humbling themselves and telling it like it is. Because 1 year ago, Rampage did what, 1.3, 1.4 million, whatever it was. I don't remember. It was more of the curiosity. We haven't seen Punk in 10 years, but you see the Dynamite ratings and you see it, getting into an area. And I know I brought this up many times before, and I'm sorry for bringing it up again, but it is a quote that so many people want you to forget. And I refuse to make you forget because it's probably the most accurate thing that CM Punk have said about AEW and their fan base. When Rampage was created, Tony Khan said that he wanted to create a show, and he also made comments that he wants to give an alternative for the fans that have fell out of love for pro wrestling that want to come back. And that's noble and everything. That's noble. Tony Khan really thought that there were hundreds of thousands of wrestling fans that were sitting on the sidelines that because TNA, Impact Wrestling, whatever you want to call it, global farce, all that garbage, just because they have fallen out of, favor with the majority of fans, MLW, people really don't pay attention to anymore. Ring of Honor is pretty much on hiatus. WWE, that cartoony shit, the too much goof, that Tony Khan really thought that there were hundreds of thousands of fans that no longer followed wrestling, that decided, I'm going to do this instead of wrestling. And he thought by bringing in Punk, bringing in Danielson, giving this alternative product, telling us we should watch AEW because WWE is shit, and now he's giving us an alternative. CM Punk last year said he doesn't think that there is this fan base sitting on the sidelines just waiting to come back and watch wrestling. And look what has happened. This past Wednesday, you had Omega's return, which a majority of people believed it was going to happen, hoped was going to happen, knew there was going to be a big surprise. You had that. You had the Young Bucks. You had a trios tournament, which was a top quality match. Andrade, Dragon King, and Roosh versus the Young Bucks and someone, that's top quality match. You have Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia, 2 out of 3 falls. You have all your regular players, and you got CM Punk and Jon Moxley confrontation to set up their match, which we thought was going to be at all out. With all of that, the rating went down. The rating went down. Last week was 972. This week was 957. No tragedy on TV. No major playoffs that everybody stopped and watched. There was no, I hate to say it like that, no mass shooting. The president was not giving a speech. The rating went down. Last week I said, if they don't do 1.1 million, there's got to be concern. Now, 1 year later, every week going forward, you're going to compare it to CM Punk being in the house, Moxley, eventually Cole and others. Now you start comparing it to a year ago. Not only do you not see growth, but you see, for people that focus on the demos going down. The demos going down. This is very, very much concern for Tony Khan. And Tony Khan, understand, I know this sounds a little ridiculous, but the TV deal is more important, I believe, for Tony Khan than pay-per-views. See, Tony Khan realizes he doesn't have to do Moxley versus CM Punk at All Out. We may still get that. The match could end up to a no contest. Something crazy could happen Wednesday, and the match still happens at All Out. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but we know putting 16 matches on their pay-per-views like they have, you know you're getting your money's worth. There's not going to be any one person that if they're not wrestling a certain person, oh, I'm not ordering. You know, pay-per-view buy rate has been fine, even with the months that CM Punk was out of action. The rating was fine when other people were not in action. So the ratings on TV are extremely important to Tony Khan because a new TV deal is going to be negotiated soon, sooner than you realize. And let me tell you something. Tony Khan is not going to go in that meeting with Warner Media and taking screenshots of all of those people that were giving him hand jobs the last year, especially on social media, and say, yeah, but. No, Warner Media is a billion-dollar company. Billion-dollar publicly traded, billions of dollars. And they're going to look at it by the numbers. They're going to look at all of the aspects, and they're going to throw it on the table, what they want and what they don't want. Some people think because of the executive turnaround in Warner Media that there's concern that they may be dropped because maybe AEW programming is not what Warner Media is all about. All right, that's not news. That is guesses and in some twisted ways, hopes of some people out there. Trust me, just like there's nobody close to Vince McMahon's inner circle that is leaking stuff out to people online, that Vince was going to bury Gunther, that Vince was going to release Ludwig Kaiser, that Vince told people that Shane will never see the light of day in the company ever again. Just like there's nobody in Vince's inner circle that close that's going to leak to WrestlingGoof.com. You know, there's nobody here that has connections in Warner Media that's going to turn around and say, you know, not for nothing, but Lisa Marie, she's not thrilled about what AEW is all about. Yeah, it's not. I don't buy it. And I also think AEW will end up with a better TV deal than before. I do believe that. I think they will end up getting a better deal because they're still a new company. And in 3 years, they have built that company into something, you know, rather solid. The problem is, did AEW hit their ceiling? What is it going to take to get some additional fans to tune into the product? The rating went down. It went down. Even if it goes 1.1 million next week. I mean, let's be honest, everyone, how many out there thought that 900,000 to 1 million was going to be AEW's ceiling? Period. They don't do house shows. Their revenue is dependent on very, very, very too expensive T-shirts, overly priced pay-per-views. You know, Tony Khan with his pay-per-views is like going to a casino restaurant. You walk into the casino restaurant and the meal is $89. You're like, the fuck is it $89? No, but when you get it, your burger is going to be this big. You're going to have a giant amount of fries. Your plate is going to be bigger than the table. So we're going to give you a boatload of food. You have to pay. No, I just want like the children's menu. I'm not really that hungry. Just give me a regular burger, a lettuce wrap, just a little. I don't want to. No, we have to charge you $89, but we will give you a crazy amount of food. So what kind of audience do you usually get in a place like that? Either people out there that got to eat something and have no other choice and they want to watch that, or you get the really, really fat people like me that want, hey, I'm going to pay $90. You better believe I'm going to eat every fucking thing. I'll eat the straw if I have to. So he's got to overprice everything, but he's got to also give us 17 matches, 15 matches as a result. So you take away big revenue from a TV deal, sure, Tony Khan's got unlimited pocket change. The guy's got billions. So the guy could just keep going into his pocket and keep overpaying and paying and paying and paying. Hopefully he doesn't start paying wrestlers to stay away from WWE. That is something that some people are really, really concerned about. But, this TV deal is a big deal. So now with the ratings 1 year later, and you look at the growth, and unfortunately there's going to be a lot of people out there who do talk about ratings that are not going to be totally honest with you. They're not going to be, I don't want to say they're going to be dishonest, but they're going to be incomplete. You're going to see, like, when they report the AEW rating and it's not all that great, they'll report it in 2 sentences. But when it comes to SmackDown or the Raw rating, there's 5 sentences, or if they really want to try to make AEW look better, it ranked number 10 in Wednesday programming. And then you look at the top 10 and there's a show from Fox News at 5 p.m. that didn't even go head to head with AEW. Or they'll talk about a morning talk show that's on cable. How do you compare a morning talk show's rating to AEW's? Because they see the overall ratings and then they see the demo. So if the demo is better than a lot of other shows, they'll choose that category and they'll say AEW was number 2 for the night. Wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. This show did 3.5 million. This show did 3 million. This other show did 4.1 million. This show did 1.7 million. How is it number 2 of the night? Oh, I get it. It's the 18 to 34 that, yeah. See, here's the problem. Here's a problem with that. Impact Wrestling is a great example of it. Let's say Impact Wrestling has 100,000 viewers, okay? And let's say a huge percentage of those 100,000 viewers are in the 18 to 49 demographic. Let's say 60,000 of them. That's 60% of the overall viewership. So somebody will say, their demo was 0.59. But then when you look at the overall actual math, they're like, wait, that's only 59,000 people. That's why the overall rating is a big deal. The overall rating is a huge fucking deal. And you're going to see now Tony Khan making he's going to spice up Rampage and Dynamite. You're going to see, concerted effort to really spice it up a little bit. And let me tell you something, this journalistic kayfabe, we talked about it with MJF. The night MJF no-showed that meet and greet. And I was live and people were telling me that night, oh, he's getting on a plane. And I said, bullshit. Cold bullshit. You see the news that came out this week? MJF is close to a return. Because Tony Khan in his mind could fantasy book, but he doesn't know how to address it when asked publicly. This master plan with MJF, Tony Khan didn't know how to advance the storyline when doing all these interviews. As I brought up before, I want you to think about CM Punk, and this will segue to CM Punk now because I think everybody's in the house. And welcome once again. And if you're enjoying the show, hit thumbs up. Much appreciated. All right. As I remind you about MJF, I want you to think about what's going on right now with CM Punk. Because let me tell you something. When you're done with this, you will realize that as a wrestling fan, you may really enjoy what's going on right now. But this is why you should just focus to the TV and not focus on news sites. All right. Remember the MJF situation. Walked out didn't know if he was going to appear at the pay-per-view. Since when did MJF become this very unprofessional, person, business-wise? Yeah, his character, he's an asshole. He's out in public and he's a loose cannon. He's old school Piper, everything rolled into one. He lives the gimmick. But has anyone ever that has done business with MJF from MLW and other places, did anybody ever turn around and say, this guy was really, really difficult to do business with and stuff like that? MJF gives the perception that he is a dick, that he is an asshole, that he's a scumbag, that he only cares about himself. He doesn't give a shit about anybody in AEW. He doesn't give a shit about fans. That is the persona, the aura that has been presented to everyone out there. So now that person with that kind of attitude just simply gets up, walks out on the company. If you believe that, walks out on the company, gets on a plane, leaves. No one knows if he's going to appear at the pay-per-view. He does the deed for Wardlow, leaves, and then calls Tony Khan a fucking mark, and then walks off. When I told you that night, when MJF went in that ring and cut that promo on Tony Clark, gotta think of Tony Mark, Tony Khan, I thought of Brian Pillman when he appeared in the ECW arena, making fun of all the smart marks, calling Todd Gordon Booker Man or Paul Heyman, just threatening to piss in the ring. That's what it felt like when MJF cut his promo. So MJF cuts that promo. That there's a censor button, and that there is a 6-8 second delay, and that for a fact. Go watch Dynamite on Fight, and then you go watch it on TNT, and you see what I'm talking about. The minute MJF started doing that, he would have been like, Tony. That's what would have happened. It's what would have happened, plain and simple. But there's a lot of people, for a fact, there's a lot of people in the journalist land that are dying to work in some capacity with these pro wrestling companies, dying to do it. I'm not shitting on anybody who wants to do that. So when you can go along with the program and you avoid certain obvious questions, Tony Khan representing this giant company, again, as I'm explaining this, think about CM Punk right now and it all makes sense. While this is all going on with MJF, Tony Khan appears on Busted Open or the media scrum after the pay-per-view. I don't want to talk about it. You say that when somebody breaks up with you and you're just so butthurt, you just don't want to talk about it. He's the fucking owner of this company. But Ring of Honor, is the head guy with all of this. And he doesn't send a message to his locker room that behavior like that will not be tolerated, that is unacceptable, it is unprofessional. We have treated MJF fairly, and he not only walked out on AEW, he walked out on each fan that believes in what we do. He walked out on the wrestlers. He walked out on everybody. This company is a family, and behavior like that is unacceptable. Why did he not do that? Because of that little tidbit that a lot of people ignored. Tony Khan doesn't want to lie to the workers. I don't like using the term money mark with Tony Khan, but Tony Khan is the owner of an entertainment company. It is sports entertainment. I know some people cried when they heard Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens use the word wrestler, but it's still sports entertainment. It is predetermined. Ring of Honor is sports entertainment. MLW, AAA, Lucha, everything is sports entertainment. All right? Until what you see in the ring is 100% real, it is a form of entertainment. And Tony Khan is in the entertainment business. And Tony Khan thinking that if he says something publicly and it ends up later that MJF was in the company all along, he might anger his roster because he lied to everyone out there. The funny thing about it is no one bothers to stop and think, what do you think the wrestlers are thinking about this right now? You know, people were so quick to jump on Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out on WWE, standing up for themselves. All right. Yet, absolutely, everybody had some type of remark about that, yet absolutely silent about the MJF thing. And when one or two very rare people were asked about it, I think Wardlow might have been asked about it, and he dodged it completely. Why is the entire pro wrestling world afraid to call out MJF for a trillion times? If anybody out there thought what Sasha and Naomi did was unprofessional, you tell me how MJF is not more unprofessional. What MJF did is unacceptable, period. And nobody talks about it. Why? Because people want to be part of the story. By not reporting the obvious, by not asking the tough questions, by not, trying to get an answer out through other people, people want to be able to, give them a high five, whether physically or verbally. They want to rub elbows. So they would rather just sit back and say, it's a shoot that turned into a work. It's a work that turned into a shoot. If it's a shoot that was turned into a work that is now a shoot and will ultimately turn into a work, it's the greatest swerve in history. That's not your fucking job. Are you a reporter? Or are you just going to be opinionated? I opine. I'm not a reporter. When I decide I want to put stuff out there, I put it in the form of sausage. And you see how easy it is to break a boatload of stuff. So all of these people out there, they want to feel like they're part of the story. They want to feel like they helped Tony Khan produce this story. So now we get to CM Punk. CM Punk just showed up on Comic-Con and was talking about Brock Lesnar walking out on WWE. And if you read his comments closely, it made zero fucking sense. Because Brock Lesnar ultimately did not walk out on WWE. We were the ones. We were the only ones online that told all of you. Sausage, Vince McMahon, contacted Brock. If you walk out on me, you walk out on my family, you walk out on everything that we built, you walk on it out on everything that I am still part of. Monday we'll talk about Stephanie's latest little remark that a lot of people are ignoring on purpose because it kind of pisses them off. But and Brock did not leave. He never quit. He never left. He was angry. He was disappointed. He still has friendship with Paul Heyman. Brock stood. Yet CM Punk still went on to say at Comic-Con, why didn't Michael Cole say that what Brock Lesnar did was totally unprofessional? And with all due respect, CM Punk, because the motherfucker did not quit. He did not quit. Even if he fumed, he said, that's it, I'm out of here. Then a few minutes later, cooler heads prevailed. Vince talked to him, and Brock feels a little bit better. And he stays. And not only does he say, look at the fucking match they put on in SummerSlam. The guy's being advertised for day one. The guy never quit the company. So why should Michael Cole tell the world that Brock Lesnar was unprofessional? Why? Because CM Punk just wants WWE to be bashed. What CM Punk said that day at Comic-Con made zero sense. Now, after CM Punk talking about Sasha and Naomi standing up for themselves and walking out, after Brock Lesnar, getting upset that Vince was stepping down and CM Punk saying that WWE should have said something, do you in your right mind think that CM Punk, less than a month later, after making those comments at Comic-Con, do you think that he actually was going to quit this week? Do you think that he actually almost didn't show up on Dynamite? Doesn't that sound like MJF with the pay-per-view? Oh, MJF almost didn't show. What they're doing to you right now is the same thing they did to you with MJF. And they'll hide it with, it's a shoot that turned into a work. The Colt Cabana stuff, that is a shoot that people upset. You notice what's missing about all the reporting the last 24 hours? Tony Khan's name. People backstage, they're at their breaking point about how Colt Cabana was going to be let go, and then they kept him a Ring of Honor and this and that. Motherfucker, what's going on with FTR and others? Oh, no, but they're doing the Ring of Honor thing. Oh, no, but the Briscoe, the Ring of Honor. No, Tony Khan has fucking Dynamite. Why are some people only allowed to appear on Ring of Honor? Because people don't want to confront about the Warner Media issue, and maybe they are really against the Briscoe. No, but they only signed the Ring of Honor deal. Motherfucking company is on hiatus. What are you talking about? No. Dustin Rhodes is going to take on Claudio next week for the Ring of Honor title. Tony Khan's name is absent with all this CM Punk stuff. Why is Tony Khan not stepping up and addressing all of this, trying to nip it in the bud? Are people going to start saying, you see, he should have handled the MJF situation when he did, and now the locker room is at its breaking point. The locker room's in disarray. Let me tell you something. A lot of those wrestlers in the locker room right now are all coming up with these shoot storylines. Eddie Kingston calling CM Punk, I'm going to say it, he called him the C word on Twitter. The C word says that when I'm not there. You know, have you paid attention to Eddie Kingston's promo? I love Eddie Kingston. I'm not trashing him in any way right now. But, you know, you don't think that there might be a little bit of a receipt coming or confrontation? He called CM Punk the C word. A lot of these wrestlers now are trying to go into shoot mode quite often. You could see some of it on TV. You could see some of it on social media. They're trying all to make this feel like legitimate tension, legitimate work. CM Punk calling Hangman Page out. People forget the promo that Hangman Page cut on CM Punk before their title match when CM Punk won the championship. And Hangman Page said that you don't care about AEW, that I'm here defending AEW. It's more than the title. It's about AEW, All Elite Wrestling. He threw so much shade to CM Punk that night. All right. Hangman Page was called coward shit by Kenny Omega, as I showed you at the beginning of this show. All right. The idea that CM Punk, they could name drop Colt Cabana. They could name drop CM Punk. But they won't name drop the wrestlers that are extremely frustrated about it. Why are they all silent? Why are they not speaking out about it? Oh, Eddie Kingston called them the C word. So you're starting to see what's going on here. The blurring of the line. If we think that some legitimate heat might be brought out on TV, maybe Matt Hardy towards Edge way back when. Remember when Matt Hardy was fired and then he showed up and had the feud with Edge? I mean, we loved it, and it was crazy buzz at that time because the lines were blurred. Remember when he called in to bite this and went off on Lita? So right now, and remember where Tony Khan comes from. Tony Khan comes from the Ring of Honor, ECW, New Japan, that real raw shoot. You know, that's where he comes from. So this is right up his alley. Tony Khan is, as much as he could be a child with some of his tweets, the man is not stupid. The man is a hardcore, diehard wrestling fan. And that's one thing you got to love with him, you know, being involved. But at the same time, though, he's not a walking mat. He's not a welcome mat that everybody just steps on. How does this look to Tony Khan, where MJF does what he does and he says nothing. If all this stuff was CM Punk true, that he almost quit, this happened, and the locker room is in disarray, and this, and this, and this, and that, and he went off script. CM Punk has been going off script for over 15 years. How are people suddenly this naive to turn around and say, he went off script to talk about Hangman Page? That motherfucker goes off script in his promos almost every time. Nothing was different. Oh, he called Hangman Page coward shit. One more time.
And Hangman, if people only knew you the way that I knew you, they wouldn't be chanting cowboy shit. They'd be calling you what you really are. Coward shit.
Ooh, geez.
I'll see you next week. And Hangman.
Oh, sorry.
If people...
Guys, a lot of people online, they feel to get in the better graces of Tony Khan and people in AEW, they turn a blind eye. Why report the actual story where you can actually help build the story? There's a lot of AEW support online by these journalists. You see it. Me, I support AEW, but I'm also very, very real and honest about what I say about it. I criticize things because I want it to get better. You see, now with the rankings, do you remember that big story that we did exposing the rankings? A week later, the ranking system's totally changed. Yesterday, you had Private Party versus Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. And as Tony Khan pointed it out, the first time that two African-American teams are fighting against each other for the tag titles. All right. That's a big deal for, for people that feel that blacks in wrestling have not been treated fairly. Okay, that's fine. But you also have other people like Private Party, then they're not even ranked. Why are they getting this match? You see now we're getting matches, even if some of the matches we see, are the people aren't ranked, we're getting matches for the sake of having matches. But Tony Khan now, because of these ratings, stuck in the mud. They're stuck in the mud. He's spicing up Dynamite. He's spicing up Rampage. And what you're seeing right now with all this stuff with CM Punk going off script, guy's been doing it for 15 years. Why is it a news story now? It's not a news story. CM Punk, that confrontation with Hangman Page, go back to May. What did people say? Hangman Page was turning heel. Good. Because Hangman Page, unfortunately, didn't feel like he had all that great of a championship run, with the exception of the Bryan Danielson matches. Did anybody say Hangman Page went off script and this did this and this and this? No. Go watch Hangman Page's promo on CM Punk again. And then you see what Hangman Page said in May was worse than CM Punk calling him out. Understand someone, CM Punk won the belt. There was really no follow-up with him and Hangman Page all that much. There was really no much of a follow-up. Then he got injured. So now he's in an area, almost like a hometown for Hangman Page. He's from that neck of the woods. So CM Punk says, hey, come out. You want it? Come out. That's not cowboy shit. That's coward shit. Oh my God, he went off script. The locker room is in turmoil that CM Punk almost quit and this and that. Based on what? Based on what? It's the MJF situation all over again. Now people are fantasizing that CM Punk and MJF may end up joining forces, that CM Punk turns heel. And let me tell you something, if CM Punk turns heel, it's going to be fucking good, because you just look at CM Punk's career. CM Punk is awesome as a heel. And if CM Punk turns heel, can you imagine the shit that's going to come out of his mouth? See, when you have a character like MJF, who is going to be the ultimate asshole, the biggest dick to his boss, the biggest asshole to the fans, the biggest asshole to fellow wrestlers, you can't pull the Zeb Coulter, Jack Swagger moment. My name is Jake Hager. My name is, whatever. I can't remember Dutch Mantel's real name. But, we play characters on TV. Blah, 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 blah. You think MJF should have cut a little video online to the Warner Media. Everyone, my name is Maxwell Jacob Freeman. What you see on TV, you fucking kill that character. So when you have someone out there with a live mic, do you think MJF told Tony Khan that night, hey, no, I'm just going to come out there and I'm just going to say the better man won, or, I'm tired of this and I quit and this and that. Tony Khan knows what he's got out there. MJF did exactly what he was supposed to do. And once again, even though everybody ignores it, you would have simply had, and we didn't get that. That's not a mistake, everybody. That is not a mistake, especially with the owner of a company. The fact that Tony Khan has not publicly addressed MJF, has not publicly addressed all this CM Punk stuff, has not tried to nip it in the bud on the 1-year anniversary of CM Punk's debut, tells you he'd rather keep quiet so he cannot be accused of lying to the fans. So he cannot be accused of lying to the wrestlers. And honestly, that is a huge mistake on Tony Khan's part. Don't do interviews then. Don't make yourself public for interviews. You could tweet, you could write things online. Don't make yourself public for that stuff, because it looks ridiculous that a billionaire that runs not only wrestling but other companies as well, and he doesn't have the balls to address a guy who goes into business for himself and quits the company, and now another guy who supposedly is causing so much turmoil because he doesn't like the Colt Cabana. He doesn't like the Colt Cabana. First of all, Colt Cabana, with all due respect, what's his career been on TV and pro wrestling? He does stuff behind the scenes. Tony Khan was going to let him go. Tony Khan wasn't going to let him go because CM Punk was being hired. A lot of people were let go, and then you decide to keep him aboard and let him do stuff. Please, I could contribute to Ring of Honor. I could be a great asset for Ring of Honor. Okay, you could stay. Because where is Colt Cabana going to go outside of this? You think he's going to go to Impact? You think he's going to go to MLW? He's going to go back to the podcast, and that's going to be it. So Colt Cabana doing something for AEW is better than doing nothing. But suddenly, the backstage turmoil over that guy, I have nothing against Colt Cabana. I like Colt Cabana. Guy's entertaining as fuck, and he's a hard worker. But the idea that anybody thinks that the CM Punk Colt Cabana situation wasn't addressed before CM Punk signed with AEW is ridiculous. But these people online, all they're going to tell you is, it's a shoot that turned into a work. It is a shoot that turned into a work, that then became a shoot again, that is now turned into a work. Or the magical word if. If it's a shoot. If it's a work. If it's a shoot that was turned into a work, it's one of the greatest, most amazing, unbelievable things in my lifetime. I could die tomorrow and I could say, God, that was the greatest storyline ever. That's how they're treating it, instead of just reporting the story. So these people get paid serious money, everyone, especially CM Punk. CM Punk knows when he talks about Sasha Banks, when he talks about Naomi, when he talks about Brock Lesnar, when he speaks his mind about a lot of issues out there, the last thing he wants to do is turn around and be a hypocrite. Sure, maybe you feel CM Punk has been a hypocrite in the past. The last thing you want to do is have any WWE people who have said negative about CM Punk since he's returned, outside of him being in the ring. You don't ever want anyone to be like, see, I was right. See, I was right. See, I was right. CM Punk don't care for this. CM Punk don't care for that. CM Punk don't care for this. So that's the deal. Benjamin, you want me to say names like Meltzer, Alvarez, Keller? Why? So you could say, oh, look, Don Tony talked about, I'm talking about the media in general. If I want to single out somebody, I will. So, all right. So that's the deal with Moxley and Punk. That is going down Wednesday on Dynamite. What happens? Nobody knows. Will we get an appearance? Will we get a major jolt of fuckery, which those initials are MJF? Nobody knows. Will the lights go out? Should we do a contest? Will the lights go out? Nobody knows. But understand, everyone, 1 year today, CM Punk makes his AEW TV debut. 1 year ago today, the ratings have not really moved much at all. And I leave you with one final comment about this story, something you always have to think about. For everybody who is live, you don't have to say yes or no, but you think to yourself, for everybody who is live right now that watches Dynamite, many of you watch WWE programming as well. I think I would be safe to say at least 70% of you, 75% of you. So when you realize that AEW Dynamite does 950,000 viewers, or let's just say 1 million, let's average it to 1 million, and you realize that 600,000 to 700,000 of those very million also watch WWE programming, you realize that there isn't this gigantic audience out there that is strictly AEW and not WWE. So Tony Khan has got to convince more people to tune into AEW. Where are you going to get them from? Where are you going to get them from? So he's got to spice up the TV. You will see a lot more of this shoot on TV because he believes that that will spark more interest. And we'll see what happens. As a wrestling fan, this should be great for all of us. This should be great. I'm excited as a wrestling fan. So all this drama that people are portraying online, just report the news, the actual news. When you got to add the word shoot work in it and you're not even a wrestler, those are people out there that are just trying to hide it or help contribute to the story. By not exposing what is actually happening, they're actually helping build the storyline with the CM Punk stuff, with Moxley, with MJF, and with others. So just understand that when you do check out some people. Some people will say nothing. And then when months later comes, they'll turn around and say, I never said that. You're wrong. I never said that. I never said MJF this. I never said CM Punk this. I never said, because their silence helped build the storyline. So rather than reporting about it, trying to get the scoops, we reached out for Tony Khan, no comment. We reached out for so-and-so for no comment. Hey, how come so-and-so? How come you don't answer this? This is a big issue. Somebody walks out on your company. Why wouldn't they keep doing that? Why wouldn't they keep being persistent? They're reporters. They're journalists. Think about, with Trump and all this other stuff, people want to get the truth. They'll keep hammering. Other people out there, I never said anything. I never reported anything. I never asked anything. Why? Nobody stops and says, why didn't you? Why didn't you stay on this like flies on shit? You won't get an answer. You will not get an answer. By the way, I saw all this turmoil yesterday. Jade Cargill used the sledgehammer on Rampage, trying to break the metal wings of Athena, the former Ember Moon. First of all, that looked goofy because, unfortunately, they didn't, I don't want to say they didn't test it out beforehand, but you're going to just bend metal. You're not going to just break it. It's not glass. So she's banging Athena's thing and oh my God, she's destroying it. I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, there's just a little dent. You turn it on the other side and you can bang the dent out. But everybody was comparing it to Triple H's sledgehammer. Oh, look, the shot at Triple H. I thought Cody. I was like, wait, didn't Cody use a sledgehammer repeatedly in AEW? And didn't Cody help? Didn't the school help train Jade Cargill? So maybe it was a shout out to Cody. I don't know why people were really obsessed with that yesterday. All right, let's move on. So we've already done an hour, so we only have about a half hour left. But go back again, check out that Page promo from May. Go check out the MJF stuff if you need a little refresher, and think about what's going on today. It's the same thing. All right. let's talk a little bit about SmackDown yesterday. Episode 1200 in Montreal. And I guess maybe the most talked about moment yesterday, other than Sami Zayn, was this. I know it's a bad screenshot. I was preparing for today's show. I was moderating the watch party. Shout out to everybody that was there. Doing a lot of different things. I'm getting married 2 weeks from today. So I saw this yesterday, and this photo may not look all that big of a deal. The Viking Raiders did a Viking funeral for the New Day. They burned the bootios. They burned shirts. Awesome segment. And I'm going to show you why I'm starting to buy into the Viking Raiders. If you notice, there is a woman or a man with very, very thin forearms with kind of like, looks like dreads. And all we see is her back, and she's wearing fur. And everybody's like, wait a minute. Wasn't Sarah Logan part of the Viking Raiders before? So a lot of people out there believe that Sarah Logan is now back in the WWE, and she will be in the corner of the Viking Raiders. If that is true, I am 100% for it. And let me tell you something. Look at their outfit here. And you think about the segment yesterday. All right. I know the term vicious being repeatedly is a little goofy, but you know what? I think they're turning the corner with the Viking Raiders. And Sarah Logan being part of it, I'm totally in with it. She would be a great addition back to the roster. And she's, one of the most well-liked women that were in that locker room back in the day. And, how awesome would that be to have, Liv Morgan as champion, Ruby Soho doing what she does in AEW, and then Sarah Logan back on TV. So that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I'm definitely buying into that. So that's probably the biggest buzz from yesterday. Now, a couple other things, which I am extremely happy for. We've talked about the horrible streak that the Intercontinental Championship has had. It has not been defended on a pay-per-view for a couple of years. And we've talked about it before. It started as sausage, but then it was more common sense. You're going overseas. You're going to be over 70,000 fans in attendance. Gunther needs to defend that championship. So last night, we had an awesome match. I know some of the participants are like, we had Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, Sheamus, Ricochet, and Sami Zayn. They had a 5-way to determine who was going to face Gunther at Clash at the Castle. Yes, Gunther will be defending the championship. Thank you, Sevara. The last time it was defended was the Nigerian drum match at WrestleMania 37. Over 2 years, everyone. So this match went down yesterday, and Sami Zayn he got a hero's welcome in Montreal. He was the star of the night. And let me tell you something. There's been a little bit of seed planting we've talked about for a while of Sami Zayn getting his ass kicked by the Bloodline. And after what happened yesterday with him and Roman Reigns, that shit is going down. Now, we had a segment yesterday, and look, people were comparing it to Rock and Sock Connection. No, it's not Rock and Sock Connection in any way, shape, or form. If anything, this is a mob hit about to happen. Caption that, everyone. Caption that photo. Sami Zayn. Can you believe that they actually thought that CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and the Young Bucks under AEW Creative would be needle movers? And Roman Reigns is like, no. But, I watched people just to get like 3,000 likes. Oh, Give me more of that. That's rockin' sockin'. No, that is a mob hit about to happen. Because Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns wanted to talk to him. So Sami Zayn goes in Roman Reigns' room, and they're having a little conversation. Sami Zayn is acting starstruck. Yeah, I've been representing the bloodline. Cut the music. Been representing the bloodline. And you look at Roman's face as Sami Zayn is saying that. Roman's like, the fuck's this guy talking about? Then they're talking a little bit further. And Sami Zayn is talking about Jey Uso. And he says, there's been a little friction with him and Jey Uso. He feels like Jey is just, then Roman, wants to feel out Sami Zayn. And Roman's looking at him and he's like, I think you're right. And that's it. Sami Zayn sealed his faith. When Roman said, you're right to Sami Zayn opened his fucking mouth. Oh, he's ungrateful and this and that. And Sami Zayn just set himself up. He is going to get whacked. Not death, but he is going to get killed by the bloodline. He set up his fate. So Roman gets up. I guess he's got to take a pee. And his cell phone goes off, and it's Jey Uso. Problems at the border. They're not going to be in the building tonight. So Roman Reigns, he comes back, and Sami Zayn offers his services. Sami Zayn talks about his title histories. The IC title would look great in the bloodline. And Roman's got this look on his face like, this guy cannot be that stupid. Son, you're about to be whacked by the bloodline. And this is to set up babyface. And right at the end of the segment, an additional seed planted, which now it seems like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn may in fact be the ones to dethrone the Usos. Because remember last week when Kevin Owens showed up on Raw and he told the Usos, tell your tribal chief he owes me one. Roman says to Sami Zayn yesterday, hey, you still tight with Kevin Owens? Oh, no, we still talk, but not like before. He's like, well, do me a favor. Tell Kevin Owens, I don't owe him anything. I don't owe him guts. Tell your boy, I don't owe him nothing. So now the storyline continues to Raw. Will Sami Zayn show up on Raw? Send the message to Kevin Owens, since Kevin Owens apparently doesn't watch SmackDown or doesn't check out social media, and the tens of thousands of ats like, hey, did you see what Roman said about you on SmackDown? So Sami Zayn is going to say something to Kevin Owens, and this should lead to the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Could that happen at Clash at the Castle? We're only 2 weeks away. Something's got to go down this week if that match sets up. And why would Sami Zayn agree to take on the Usos? Something has to go down this week. If there's any chance of the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the tag titles, unified tag titles at Clash at the Castle, it has to go down this week. Because if there's going to be an attack or something, you need a week to let it simmer and then it lead to a match at Clash at the Castle. But Sami Zayn, some people said yesterday that his pop rivaled CM Punk's in Chicago last year when he debuted for AEW. I can't put it on that level because the reaction a year ago were fans that had not seen CM Punk in a wrestling ring for almost 10 years. So there was a deeper vibe going on. Montreal was showing love to their hometown hero. They were serenading the shit out of Sami Zayn yesterday. And Sami, the feeling that he must have had, you want to bottle that, man. You want to bottle that and try to experience that again. And that just goes to show you how much Sami Zayn is appreciated, because trust me, everybody who was tuning in live yesterday that doesn't live in Canada, we were all loving it as well. We were all loving it as well. But, Muhammad, I'm going to get to that because we have a new segment this week I've had a few of you ask me to do, and it's going to be my favorite moment and least favorite moment of the week. So we'll get to that. A little spoiler based on what you asked, but we'll get to that. So we had the 5-way yesterday, and everybody was rooting for Sami Zayn to win this. Now, during the match, Sami Zayn pulled the Dax Harwood because we had him claiming that he injured his shoulder. During the match, we had Sheamus doing his 10 shots. He did it to Corbin. Everybody loved it. He did it to Madcap Moss. Everybody loved it. He did it not only to Ricochet, but for some reason for Ricochet, Ricochet got 17 shots. During the match, Sami Zayn doing some of his vintage moves, and Michael Cole even brought up, he looks a lot like El Generico. Little inside joke. Oh my God, did he just say El Generico? Oh, what is that going to do? Suddenly have people tune into Ring of Honor? Seriously. Cool. I like when you do little jokes like that. Hey, kind of reminds me of El Generico. So Sheamus gives the 10 to Madcap, gives the 10 to Corbin, gives the 17 to Ricochet, goes to give it to Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn turns it to a cutter. So Sami don't get the 10 shots. But unfortunately, Sheamus hits white noise to Sami Zayn. Sami rolls out of the ring, acting like he injured his shoulder. He goes to the back, shows up later on. Similar to Dax, if you remember recently, injured his shoulder, went to the back, came out. But ultimately, Sheamus won this match. Sheamus with the bro kick to Corbin. I know a lot of people out there were very, very disappointed that Sami Zayn lost this match, but you got to look at bigger picture. You have to look at bigger picture. If this is going to be your tag team to face and possibly dethrone the Usos at Clash at the Castle, it made no sense for Sami Zayn to win that match yesterday. Sami Zayn had to lose that match yesterday. And selling the shoulder might be the bloodline smelling blood in the water, and they may try to injure that shoulder further. So Sheamus versus Gunther is going to be spectacular. The brawling that is going to go down that night at Clash at the Castle. Unfortunately, I will be busy that night. I will not be able to see it live and in person. But that is going to be a match with people that like that strong style shit, that real physical. They're going to chop the shit out of each other. So I am really looking forward to this match. And say what you want about Sheamus. And we've been talking about it since the COVID era began. Sheamus has been one of the MVPs of that product. I don't believe he should have a world title run, but still, talking about putting out consistently spectacular matches, you think of all the people that he faced. I mean, it wasn't just Drew McIntyre. Sheamus has had consistently some of the better matches on TV. So, oh my God, I agree with you, CJ. Especially how Sheamus has mayonnaise-colored skin. Imagine what that chest is going to look like after Gunther. Seriously, remember that Andre the Giant shirt with just the giant hand? I think that's what his chest is going to look like. You're going to think he's wearing one of those retro Andre the Giant shirts. So he's going to get the balls chopped out of him. So, all right, let's just run down a couple other quick things with SmackDown yesterday. Okay, we had another interesting twist. Zoey Stark and Nikkita Lyons did not wrestle yesterday in the women's tag team title tournament. Instead, we had Toxic Attraction taking on Natalya and Sonya Deville. And not only did Toxic Attraction take their place, they advanced. They advanced in the tournament, which makes it interesting. Do I think they're going to win the tag titles? I say no, but Shawn Michaels, and this is the funny thing about it, over the, when Shawn Michaels makes an announcement, this is just a piece of advice. If I was Shawn Michaels, I think you got to reset your settings as far as blocking people. Because one of the funniest things that I have learned over the last 2 years, 3 years, is that Shawn Michaels has blocked thousands, tens of thousands of people. He blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. I can't tell you how many people have said to me over the last couple of years, the motherfucker blocked me. I never said anything about him. So he makes an announcement yesterday on his Twitter that due to injury to Zoey Stark, that Toxic Attraction will now be in the tournament. And you had to see the number of people, I'm talking thousands, that went on WWE's Twitter and said, I can't see it. Shawn Michaels has me blocked. And there's a lot of people live right now that were blocked by Shawn Michaels. So a lot of people couldn't even see the announcement because they just referenced Shawn Michaels' Twitter account. So this match was okay yesterday. I think for JC Jane and Gigi Dolan, I think there was a lot of nerves going on. I mean, my God, you think of that crowd yesterday. Montreal, man. I mean, I love the Garden crowd. I love the ECW Arena crowd. I love the Chicago crowd. And there's some others as well. But Montreal, man, they used to call it Bizarro Country. Some people would call it. Now, look, Natty got pops yesterday because she's from Canada. So I expected Natty to get a hero's welcome as well. But didn't feel like Bizarro Land yesterday. They popped big for Roman Reigns. Sami Zayn, it was just off the charts. It was, the serenading yesterday was really, really good. I mean, I loved every minute of it. I think for Toxic Attraction, I think there was a little bit of intimidation being in front of a crowd like that. There was, a couple of messy moments in the match, but ultimately towards the end of the match, Gigi Dolan gets the blind tag. She tags JC Jane. Natty doesn't realize it. Natty tries to put the sharpshooter on Gigi Dolan, but here comes JC Jane with the fruit roll-up, and they advance. And sitting at ringside, and you know what? I saved the picture. Do I have it? Yeah, I do have it. I saved the picture yesterday, and I wanted to share with everyone. I know a lot of you, one of your pet peeves as far as watching WWE programming is whenever somebody's in the back and there's a monitor, they're always sitting like this. I get it. If they stand in front of the monitor, you can't see the monitor. But everybody always stands to the side, which is just not a natural thing you do. Another one that nobody talks about that is my pet peeves is how come whenever a wrestler gets to sit ringside and they bought a ticket, quote unquote, how come they have to hold the fucking ticket the entire night? The whole time that Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Bayley was sitting in ringside, taunting people, taunting Sonya Deville, taunting Toxic Attraction, taunting Michael Cole. Like, they got to hold the ticket, and they would not let it go. The entire time. And if you notice, everybody does that. Hey, I bought a ticket. I sit front row. They have to keep the ticket in their hands. They got to show it to everyone. That's one of my pet peeves also. So, yeah. But they were sitting at ringside, and, they were curious to see who was going to advance in the match. So now the new brackets, on Monday, we get Io Sky and Dakota Kai versus Alexa Bliss and Asuka. And on the opposite side, I'm assuming for next week's SmackDown, we're going to have Gigi Dolan and JC Jane taking on Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah. And if the finals do happen at Clash at the Castle, realize that Toxic Attraction or Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah are going to be in the finals for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Nothing against Aaliyah, but WWE has done a piss poor time with her in the ring the last 6 months at least. So I kind of have a little difficult time buying into that team. Toxic Attraction, I am a big fan of, but I think it might be a little bit too soon to have them in the finals going to Clash at the Castle. But I think at the end of the day, I think Io Sky and Dakota Kai, they got to win it all. I think they got to win it all. And if we do get the return of Naomi and Sasha Banks, that, you know, in the imminent future, I think that might be a really interesting feud. Now, we're going to talk about this on Monday, but I'm going to throw a little teaser now. And I know some of you are going to run to social media and post it. And if you do, cool, go ahead. If you mention my name too, even better. Monday, we'll talk about NXT UK being repackaged into NXT Europe. We will talk about the 22 wrestlers that were released that I just keep thinking to myself, could you imagine if Vince McMahon was still at the helm? Vince is now targeting Triple H's legacy of NXT UK. See the lack of noise about that? They released 22 people. Does it feel like there's any attention to it? No. Yeah, WWE's still going to release people. But we'll talk about that on Monday. We'll talk Monday about Stephanie's comments with Vince. But I'm also going to talk about something else on Monday, too. Did you see Sasha Banks and Naomi at this Hulk preview? What was it, She-Hulk or He-Hulk? I don't know these days. Is it she, he? Is she, them, it? Like, what was it? Was it He-Hulk or She-Hulk? But they went She-Hulk. Thank you. They went to a She-Hulk filming, preview, whatever it is, red carpet, and they looked fine. And did you notice all that dopey shit people were saying about Sasha Banks with the plastic surgery was ridiculous? Remember when we said about C2E2 that that's the power of makeup? She had a lot less makeup on this time around. She looked exactly like she did when she left WWE. So all that plastic surgery nonsense was ridiculous. We saw that a mile away. But I'm going to have a little fun with this on Monday. I'm going to throw something out to you right now as a preview. If you want to run with it, go right ahead. I ask you this. Sasha Banks and Naomi are not sisters from other misters. Sasha Banks and Naomi are not lovers. Sasha Banks and Naomi are not cousins. I don't think so. Sasha Banks and Naomi are two friends. Why are people still booking Sasha Banks and Naomi together? Can you explain that to me? I mean, I know they left WWE, but when you're talking about like sports conventions and movies and other things, why is it, we have to have Sasha Banks and Naomi together? Why, scissor me, why we still have that connection? Just throwing it out there. You really think about it. She-Hulk. You think, I'm not trying to be disrespectful for Naomi, but you don't find it a little weird or a little curious why all these places that Sasha and Naomi have to be used as a package? Just throwing it out there. I'm a little observant. Something for you to think about. So, all right. My doorbell is ringing, and I do not want to get up and answer it. Hopefully, it's not my fiance. Look, if the doorbell rings like 4 or 5 times, I might have to get up for a second to answer it. So, I don't think it would be her because she knows that I do a show at this time. She's coming over, but, she would definitely talk to me first. So, by the way, once again, don't forget, on Monday, we will pick the winner of this autographed CM Punk photo that was from yesterday's Rampage watch party. And we will also pick Monday the winner. I finally got it. That's what I was waiting for. I mean, I had the Money in the Bank briefcase photos from that night Liv Morgan won the title, but I wanted the photo of her after she cashed in and won the championship that night. Both of those are from Money in the Bank. So someone is going to win both of those photos as well. So, yeah. So, pretty cool. All right. So, we talked about Sasha and Naomi. We talked about the tag tournament. All right. Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, is she turning into a little bit of a female Stone Cold? I ask you that. Is WWE trying to make Sasha Banks into a little bit of a female Stone Cold? Going against authority, being arrested. Yes, she was arrested before, quote unquote, on TV. That's going to be my new thumbnail. I love this segment yesterday. It was not overdone. You know, Ronda Rousey opened up the show. She was not leaving the ring until she gets what she wants. So now you ask yourself, okay, are we going to get Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey at Clash at the Castle? I think it very well could happen. I think something will happen this week also, and this will set up the three-way. And you probably need to do a three-way for the simple reason, by the way, my doorbell stopped ringing, so it probably wasn't my fiance. She'd be ringing. She'd probably throw rocks at this window. Open the door, you son of a bitch. I think it's going to turn into a three-way. But Ronda shows up. She's not leaving the ring until she gets what she wants. Adam Pearce comes out with 4 security people. And I laughed. Yesterday. These are the other 2 security people. Now, I can't zoom in too much tonight, but I looked at the girl on the left. Well, I guess it would be Adam Pearce's right. And I'm like, holy shit. Karen from Goodfellas became a cop. She came out of hiding. She looked, if you look closely, the hair, the makeup, everything about her, she looked like Karen from Goodfellas. I was like, look at that. Karen from Goodfellas is going to arrest Ronda Rousey. So the guy on the right, I don't know. But anyway, Ronda takes out 2 security guys, and then the other 2 end up arresting Ronda. You know, I could swear that Karen, like, was reaching for her pistol. Like, if you look closely, I could swear that she was teasing like she was going for a gun. And that's something I don't think you should ever do on WWE programming, even if it is somebody playing a cop or security. But it was funny yesterday. They took her out. Karen from Goodfellas. Don't give me the Babe in the Woods thing. All right, so Ronda Rousey gets arrested. She's pissed. She's not happy at Adam Pearce. Somebody's got to, I need the boogeyman, please bite that mole off her fucking face. Seriously. Do you remember when I said that about Charlotte Flair? Look, I have nothing against it. Yes, I have one here. I used to have one here and here. When I was a teenager, I don't consider it bullied. Now these days, everything is bullied. Oh, I was bullied as a teenager. No, they used to say I had radar. They're like, DT, what's your prediction? Use your radar. I would go like this. I had them removed. I never had this one removed. This one gets tough, especially when one ugly piece of hair grows out of it. But I have it. But I think for Ronda Rousey, seriously, that's not like a trademark. It's not like Madonna, you know, with a mole on the face that kind of looks a little sexy. I think, seriously, we need to set up a GoFundMe so Ronda Rousey could get that cut off. Seriously. Oh, Boogeyman, do your thing. All right. So Ronda Rousey gets arrested. We talked about the tags. We talked about Sami and Roman. We talked about, okay. All right. I told you I was going to bring up my favorite and least favorite moments of the week from now on. I will tell you, for my favorite moment of the week, it's a tie. It's Kenny Omega making his return to the ring. Interesting choice of attire that he wore. Some people claim it was a tribute to Ric Flair. Whatever. You know, I didn't care about the attire. All I know is Kenny Omega is healthy enough. You know, he's not 100%, but he's healthy enough to compete. And Kenny Omega on TV is better than Kenny Omega off TV. I think as long as he doesn't go back to the sports entertainer stuff that he was doing. You know, everybody talks about the Jericho Appreciation Society being sports entertainers. Kenny Omega's entire Impact Championship reign and beyond, he was a sports entertainer. When he had Gallows and Anderson out there and Don Callis and he had the Young Bucks, he was a sports fucking entertainer. When he was wearing all the exotic outfits and he had the crazy beard, Kenny Omega was a sports entertainer. And people were petrified to admit that. So it's a tie for me this week. My favorite moment, Kenny Omega returning, Sami Zayn's Heroes Welcome from Canada, from Montreal. That's my favorite. My least favorite moment of the week, and I'm going to explain. I'm not going to turn on these people, but I'm going to explain to you why. Yesterday, we had a segment on SmackDown with the Maximum Male Models and Hit Row. And there was a little bit of a confrontation. Hit Row throw Maximum Male Models out of the ring. Okay. I say to myself, okay, you know, if they could have a little feud, All right, I'm fine with it. But then we had disaster. AJ Francis, BFAB, Ashante Adonis, the Adontis. I am big supporters. I don't have my Hit Row stuff in the room. I didn't buy that stuff so I could get a tweet from them. Hey, cool merch. Thank you for the support. I've had that shit for how long? Before they got released, I had that stuff. I am a fan. Know your audience. Know your audience. Yesterday, they put on a rap. Now, I'm going to just play you a few seconds of it. Yeah, we could go a little bigger. Yeah. Now, listen to the words. Listen to the rhymes. Listen to the rhymes.
You know who won that game? It's stupid like, what is happening? What?
She actually used the term happening twice. I don't know, maybe that's a new thing in hip hop. You say the same word twice. I always thought you're supposed to that's what a rhyme is. I'm a poet in case you didn't know it. Hickory dickory dock. This chick was sucking my. The clock struck 2. I dropped my goo. I dropped the end of the block. Oh! She's like, I don't know what is happening. That's why they say what is happening. I'm going to go to the store and buy me some milk, and then I'm going to go home and drink the milk. With all due respect, Hit Row, they're turning heel. They're turning heel. Or they got to stop the rapping. And listen, I am not shitting on Hit Row. I'm giving an opinion. When you have family-friendly entertainment and you're going to rap, it's got to be over-the-top bubbly. It's got to be over-the-top bubbly. And when Hit Row raps, I can't play more because I don't want any copyright issues. But if you tune into the entire rap yesterday, there's anger in it. There's like militant in it. Even AJ Francis afterwards, was calling out the haters because it got a lot of negative reaction yesterday. That rap felt tension. I felt tension in that rap. Do I expect Hit Row to go, throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care? And if you really want to know, DT has got dirty underwear, say, oh yeah. I know that was horrible. Let me try it again. So throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you didn't know he had dirty underwear, everybody say, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. My name is Don. I'm from the hood. You would want to shut me down. I know you would. Oh! It's got to feel good. It's got to feel like fun. And if you go back and you watch that yesterday, it felt like, okay, rubbing it in people's faces, tension, anger. That's not your audience. Know your audience. That's just my honest opinion. I'm happy they're back. I never left the support, and I will continue supporting them. And I know people are intelligent enough to know when someone is bashing someone or someone just giving a little constructive criticism. In my opinion, they're either going to turn heel or WWE's got to stop that. Because that type of rap, I am not against the rap, but that type of rap, you can't have that tension. You want your fans to be in the crowd. And hearing Pat McAfee like going on, it just, the whole segment was not good. It was not good. My name is Don. I'm from the hood. Let's continue. Let's continue. So they rapped yesterday. I didn't like any of it. What did I say? What did I say on my Twitter? No, you rowy, you knowy, gimme, yowie wowie. Karrion Kross with a really, really good promo. Let that anger out, Karrion. That's exactly what they're doing. Karrion, that legit frustration when Vince put the mask on you and used it the way you did. Karrion Kross, he's going after the chosen ones, like Drew McIntyre, like Roman Reigns. He says, Drew, this is what you are. They chose you, and they were wrong. Easy. You don't have to rewrite, the book. Excellent segment. Didn't have to do anything. Just told what it had told. And, allowing Scarlett to be a part of it really, really did great job yesterday. Loved it. Liv Morgan beating Shotzi Blackheart. After the match, Shayna Baszler just takes out Liv Morgan. Crowd very, very much warmed up to Liv Morgan. Like I said, that 1 week where the crowd, booed, it was the reaction of her tapping out on the pay-per-view, which was stupid. That's why that happened. All these people like, oh, they're going to turn her, and it's like, it's just stupid. This doesn't make sense to do that right now. So, next week, we get Happy Corbin versus Ricochet once again. Yay! Like we haven't seen that before. Roman Reigns comes out to a huge ovation, reminds everyone that he's the head of the table, calls Drew McIntyre a liar, anything that he says. Roman Reigns, he's the champion and he will remain the champion. Drew McIntyre comes out. Not as big of a reaction to Roman Reigns. I mean, Roman Reigns also talking about that he's not there every week, but he's not a main eventer. He's the main eventer. Drew McIntyre comes around. Roman feels he doesn't need to say anything to Drew. He's beneath me. I don't need to say anything. Drew McIntyre comes out. And this was a little bit off. Drew McIntyre says that Roman Reigns doesn't deserve to be champion. And Roman's like, fuck you talking about? I think all of us were like, what you talking about? Then oh my God, then the floods opened up online. We had the side-by-side photos again. The 434 days of CM Punk, and he defended his title 112 times. And then you have Roman Reigns and the 700-something days that he had his title, and he defended it like 20 times. So anyway, why does Roman Reigns not deserve to be champion? Because Roman is just a man without the Usos and Paul Heyman. Drew says it's unique last night because it was just the two of them in the ring. Drew feels like fighting tonight. So they start brawling a little bit. And interesting, very interesting that they did this. Sami Zayn shows up. Sami Zayn takes the bullet, as Michael Cole said, for Roman Reigns. Drew McIntyre went for a Claymore, and Sami pushed Roman out of the way and got hit with the Claymore. Then they start brawling a little bit more, and then ultimately Drew McIntyre does hit the Claymore on Roman. Roman is a little bit startled on the mat. Drew picks up both titles. We go off the air. And as we're going off the air, Michael Cole says that Roman Reigns is vulnerable without the Usos with him. So that's to set up the doubt for Clash at the Castle. Right now, I still think Drew McIntyre is going to beat Roman Reigns. If Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn end up facing the Usos, I think we could very well end up with a titleless bloodline after that night. It'll be really, really interesting. Then we got the road to WrestleMania, which is right around the corner. We get Survivor Series. We got a few other things in the way. But before you know it, that train is going to really start going down the tracks. So really, really solid SmackDown show yesterday. One other thing I wanted to mention, Pat McAfee said it in passing. I don't think anybody really paid attention to it. But when we had Toxic Attraction in the ring against Natalya and Sonya Deville, he made a comment about the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. And he said something along the lines that it's the only title that's defended on all brands. Something that I just took notice. Yes, we have seen them pop up in NXT, but it's really interesting because what happens to the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships down the line? Could we possibly see, I'm not saying a unification, but it wouldn't be out of the question. I did find it interesting that they said that. There are enough women's tag teams, now where you can have it on separate brands, but it was a little something that Pat McAfee said yesterday that he didn't think was needed to be said, but he said it. So, all right. Yesterday for Rampage, not as complicated of a show. Hook beat Zach Clayton in about 10 seconds. Athena beat Penelope Ford in pretty easy fashion. After the match was over, you had the baddies come out, take out Athena. Then we see on the rampway Stokely Hathaway with Jade Cargill. She's got a sledgehammer. Athena's metal wings, her gear is on the floor. She tries to break them with the sledgehammer, but unfortunately all she did was just straighten out the metal. Then she hits the ring and hits Athena in the midsection with the sledgehammer. So they're setting up for that match. We had the Trustbusters losing to the Best Friends in the Trios tournament quarterfinal. I saw a super chat come in about Slim J, so I will answer that in a couple of moments. Arya Davari, Parker Boudreaux, Slim J. I have something interesting to say about that. Swerve and Our Glory, they retain the AEW tag titles, beating Private Party. And we had Buddy Matthews beating Serpentico, which was not an announced match, but it happened, everyone. Remember last week, every time we focus on someone who has been misused, ultimately they hit the ring the following week, it started causing damage. Miro showed up yesterday, the Redeemer, and I thought he was just going to do a stare down again, but this time around he actually brawled quite a bit with Buddy Matthews. And look, Miro looks in phenomenal shape. Looks like he got a little smaller, but Miro is back, and this 9-week storyline of him wanting to take out the Pagans, we'll probably get a Miro maybe against Malachi at the pay-per-view. At All Out, I think that could very well happen. Something else yesterday. I know it's not a big deal, but I had to show it to you anyway. Claudio hits the ring with the Ring of Honor title with Yuta Michinoku. And Claudio is talking about the belt and his reign and this and that. And he's interrupted by Dustin Rhodes. Oh, we love Dustin. Dustin Rhodes, he wants a match against Claudio. Dustin not being a heavyweight champion. Claudio up until now not being a heavyweight champion. And, Claudio, Dustin promises to bring, the natural Dustin Rhodes back. So maybe he will be without face paint next week. But Claudio makes a comment. And I know in wrestling, things are exaggerated. But I watched social media and I said, all right, if people really don't focus on it, then I won't even mention it. But then I saw a bunch of people focus on it, like, nah, I got to mention it. Claudio makes a claim that Dustin Rhodes had his greatest run in wrestling here in AEW. And you have Jim Ross, and I know Jim's got to go along with stuff, but Jim Ross is like, he's right. And that's it. Social media. Yeah, Dustin, he's had an amazing run in AEW. I would say it's even better. All right, everyone, look at your screen. For those that do not have video, that are checking out the audio, let's take a quick glance at Dustin Rhodes' AEW career, and let's see if it is the greatest run of his career. Now, we're going back, if you see on the bottom, we're going back to 2019. All right. And obviously the first match, he lost to Cody. That was a Double or Nothing 2019. All right, we got that one. But let's look at only Dustin Rhodes' wins in the last 3 years, more than 3 years in AEW. These are Dustin Rhodes' wins. You go back to WCW, we could forget about TNA. I think that's definitely not memorable. We go back to Goldust and everything else. This is Dustin Rhodes' entire AEW career wins. He teamed up with Cody and the Young Bucks. They defeated Cena, Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, and T-Hawk. He teamed up with Sonny Kiss to defeat Peter Avalon and QT Marshall. He teamed up with the Young Bucks to defeat Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz. All right, not too bad so far. He teamed up with Cody, and they beat Pentagon and Rey Fenix. He beat Sammy Guevara, Dynamite, February 2020. He teamed up with QT Marshall and beat Peter Avalon and Shawn Spears. Teamed up with QT Marshall. Again, they beat John Cruz and Matt Sells. They beat 8 and 9. He beat Kip Sabian on a singles match. Some more QT Marshall matches with him, defeating Alex Reynolds and John Silver. Dustin beat Shawn Spears. Marshall and Rhodes beat Cutler and Avalon. I think you see where this is going. They beat Angelico and Jack Evans. Now, here's the most interesting thing about it. Up here is 2 years. This is 2 years of wrestling. This is from the fall of 2020. So now you look at these matches. He's teaming up with either QT Marshall or Nick Camarado and QT. And look at the names they're beating. Cesar Bononi and Peter Avalon, Steve Gipke, Tony Vincita, and Vari Morales, M. Brady, Terrell Hughes and Terrence Hughes, Ryan Nemeth, Sean Dean, and Vari Morales, Evil Uno, 10, The Butcher, The Blade, Colt Cabana, John Silver, and then his run over the last year. He's beaten Nick Camarado. He's teamed up with Lee Johnson and beat Travis Titan and VSK. He's teamed up with Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson, and they beat Adrian Alanis, not Adonis, Justin Carino, and Liam Gray. He's beaten Aaron Solo. He's beaten QT Marshall. He's beaten Gustavo. And his last match back in March, he defeated Lance Archer. Dustin Rhodes' last win was March against Lance Archer. That is Dustin Rhodes' AEW run, and we're only talking about his wins. No. So next week we're going to have Claudio defending the Ring of Honor Championship against Dustin Rhodes. It's not a bad match. I'm not complaining about it. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think we know the outcome. So Rampage yesterday, not a bad night, but remember what I said earlier about Tony Khan now going to take some action about these ratings. Rampage throughout the month of October is going to be live. Every Rampage is going to be live. And you're going to see some little changes on Dynamite as well. And you're going to see more of that blurred line. I think blurred line. See, I know a lot of wrestlers, when they hear non-wrestlers using the term shoot and work, they don't like it all that much. I will use the term blurred lines. If you pay attention to Dynamite starting this Wednesday, you're going to see more of those blurred lines coming to TV. And Tony Khan believes that reality part, remember TNA Reaction? We're going to talk about the reality part of wrestling. It's not going to get to that point, but you're going to see the blurred lines more and more on television. Let's see if it sparks an increase in the ratings. But still, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that the ratings went down this week. All right. We're almost done. Before I get into some super chats and some shout outs, want to just quickly address Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar did in fact lose the match against Tony D'Angelo. Again, I don't understand why they just didn't simply do loser leaves NXT. I think it would have made the storyline the stipulation even better. The free stuff. I don't think anybody wants to see Legado still with Tony D'Angelo and Stax. That storyline has run its course. Technically, if you follow the storyline, they're still under the direction of Tony D'Angelo and Stax, and I'm just not feeling that. Now, with Santos Escobar, and this is sausage, a lot of people think that Santos Escobar will ultimately end up on Raw. The extra hour, more opportunities to have a long match included on the show. There's obviously some ideal opponents. Some people think that maybe Dominic Mysterio can end up doing something with Santos Escobar. Hey, anything is possible. I know Rey versus Santos Escobar is a dream match for Santos Escobar. That's going to happen. Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar will happen. But what WWE is also considering right now is we're going to have the draft soon. The draft is going to be happening. We've talked about that for a few months now. They are thinking about having Santos Escobar come in as the hottest free agent, and where he's not committed totally to Raw, and this gives him the opportunity to show up on SmackDown. The only problem with this is that we don't have dueling GMs anymore. We don't have a GM for Raw. We don't have a GM for SmackDown. So, that aspect makes the waters a little bit murkier. So, the storyline doesn't come off as good as it should. So they could still end up going that way. But I know that, unless they bring Sonya Deville back into the GM position, and I don't even think Adam Pearce has ever been called GM. Have they ever called him GM? I don't believe so. I think he's just, authority figure in WWE. He's part of management. I don't think they ever called him a GM. So we got to wait and see. But Santos Escobar will be on TV soon. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really good. So, all right. Very quickly, I want to give a couple of quick shout outs. Giuseppe, thank you very much for the $10 super chat. He has to know my thoughts on Slim J, AEW's pushing in the Trustbusters. All right, Slim J. All right. This reveals my age a little bit, but I think some people may not be aware of this. Slim J goes back to the early days of Ring of Honor. Some of you may remember in the early years of Ring of Honor, a group called Special K. That was a really, despite, doing some work for XPW and feuding with Ring of Honor, there were a lot of people in Ring of Honor that I absolutely loved. And I actually had the privilege of working with a few of those guys, in a couple other indie feds. But, you go back to Special K and you think of Delirious, one of the coolest guys I ever met in wrestling back then. Slim J was part of that group. So, this is not just some random guy that they just brought in. The man has got to be close to 40 years old because he was in Ring of Honor back in 2002. And the one time that I got to see him in person, now for anybody in the Northeast, you'll remember this guy. I loved this guy. I loved this guy's work. He was not very good, but I enjoyed his work and one of the nicest men around. Any of you remember a wrestler by the name of Damian Slugger? Damian Slugger was used a boatload in USA Pro Wrestling. Damian Slugger, just to describe him, I know for some weird reason when you describe people and include skin color, it's like, oh, no, I want people to just try to picture this guy. Think of Omos, a little bit thicker, like a thicker Omos. He had to have been close to 6'10". He weighed at least 350 pounds. And, like I said, he was very, very raw at the time, I think would probably be the right way to put it. And, I got to work some matches where he was on the opposite side. I don't remember if it was a Chris Candido Memorial show, but Damian Slugger, I went to the Ring of Honor first year anniversary show just to see Slugger and a few others because they were in, I think, a Battle Royal at the time. And I remember Slim J. Slim J came across of more of like, I don't want to say Jersey Shore, but he came across more of like Jersey Shore meets Eminem. You know, like his gear, like would piss people the fuck off. But, you know, if you go back and you look at the group Special K, if you've never seen them, go back and do a little history search with Ring of Honor with Special K, and you'll see he fits in like a glove. That's the same guy that this is now. He's been in wrestling for almost 20 years. So, you know, if you look at him closely, you know, because of his size, you know, some people almost feel like Marco Stunt territory. I think that's a little bit unfair. But the one thing that I love about Slim J right now in AEW, am I a big fan of his? No, not saying that. But the one thing that that guy does, and if you go back and you watch the Rampage main event yesterday, the guy's facial reactions, his mannerisms, he does it better than 3/4 of the AEW roster. You remember how many times when we're doing Rampage watch parties and we see like Jake Cargill, someone, and they're not selling pain. We've seen other people, they just don't sell pain. They just like have no reaction to it. Everything that he does that makes sense. Even when Danhausen was trying to do his stupid evil shit, the spell stuff yesterday, you know, he's looking at him, he's like, the fuck is this? Like he would react like any of us would react. The guys, you look at his face and you see how he reacts to things, that is a lost art in a lot of wrestlers of today. So even if you don't like the guy, and yes, he does look a little bit out of place, but you know, his outfit is supposed to piss you off. That's why he wears what he wears. But just look at his mannerisms. Just look how he sells. Just look how he reacts to things. He fits like a glove. And look, think about Tony Khan's previous love for Ring of Honor. So Tony Khan was probably a fan of Special K back in the day. Tony Khan doesn't forget some of the wrestlers from back in the day. So, all right. John Falsetto with the 5 spot. Thank you very much, my friend. It's funny, the same media who bashed Bischoff for Hogan Goldberg, which drew 7 million viewers, are praising AEW for Punk versus Plumber Moxley on free TV. Well, you know, a lot of the journalists of today were not around at that time. A lot of people were questioning why we were getting this on free TV. As wrestling fans, we were cool. I was doing my hotline at the time. I remember covering it. I remember we were a little bit confused, like, wow, you know, we expected clusterfuck. You know, but when it was done in the Georgia Dome, Goldberg's home state, and the title was on the line, you know, a lot of people started thinking, hey, he may actually pull this one off. So look, it ended up being an awesome moment in WCW history. But yeah, it got criticized. Now, John, I'll be honest with you. I think there's been a fair share of journalists the last 5 days, 4 days, 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the last 3 days that have questioned why this is being done on free TV. It's going to be really interesting what goes down on Wednesday. Tony Khan is not one to usually have something end in a crazy clusterfuck or even a cheap way out and not deliver to the fans. So something major has to go down here. Does Hangman Page get involved? Does MJF make a return? Does something happen to both guys where there's no winner? You know, this is why, even though I know Cody was totally against it back in the day, this is why I truly believe that Tony Khan is making a mistake not having an authority figure for TV. I think William Regal, despite everybody loving him as the manager of the Blackpool Combat Club, I think people would have loved William Regal being the authority figure for AEW. If he could be the one to make the matches, he could go out there and address certain things. Right now, wrestlers have a backstage segment, and then literally 5 seconds later, Excalibur will go and say, I've just been learned. Tony Khan has agreed to book the match. The match will happen. And it's literally like 5 seconds later. I didn't even have time today to have some fun. I can't stand whenever they do previews for like upcoming Rampage, or upcoming Dynamite, or even the pay-per-views. Did you watch last night with Rampage when Excalibur is he's trying to announce 9 matches in 15 seconds. And like before you could even write down the name of the match, like, Britt Baker will be taking on Kylan King. Then be taking on this, and then this, and then on Dynamite, and then on AEW, and I'm like, I can't even do a preview. It's too fast. They don't spend any time. They just throw it out there. It's like speed reading. Slow it down. Be like Roy Rogers and slow down. Props. Anybody knows why I said that. So let's see what happens. You're obviously a Jim Cornette fan with the plumber reference. I'm fine with Moxley. When people claim that Moxley ended up being the best member of the Shield, that's a popularity contest. I disagree with that, to be honest with you. Chris Cutrer, whenever I look, thank you for the 20 spot, my friend. Much appreciated. Whenever I look at an AEW pay-per-view lineup, it's not that the shows look bad at all. You look at a graphics lineup with so much on there, it feels exhausting. That feeling before a show can sway someone's decision to buy. Absolutely. Look, I'm excited I'm getting married. It's happening 2 weeks from today. I'm not going to be able to see Clash at the Castle live, but I will be checking my phone to see updates during the night. The next day is All Out. And I really wanted to cover All Out live the next day. I mean, I know I'll be exhausted, probably a little hungover and everything, but I was like, that is just, when you realize how much that's going to be on this card, that's crazy. So, as of right now, I don't see myself ordering it right there on the spot and watching it because it's going to be draining. But I will say this, and I think you'll all agree with me on this, even if you're the biggest AEW fan, is it safe to say that this has been the worst build to any pay-per-view AEW has had to date? When you look at the matches that are announced, I know we got Thunderstorm, facing each other. I think Eddie Kingston is going to take on Guevara. There's rumors that Jericho is going to face Danielson. But when there's a couple but when you really take a step back, do you really feel that the build to All Out in 2 weeks has been good? Especially with this match. Look, I expect something major to be announced for All Out. I really do. I expect something major to be announced that has not been announced yet. But the build, it doesn't feel like this pay-per-view is happening in 2 weeks. I don't know if a lot of you agree with me on this, maybe because I'm just focused, preparing for other things. I truthfully believe in the 3 years of me covering AEW, I cannot remember a pay-per-view that feels this disorganized 2 weeks away. I don't know how you feel about it. Forbidden Door was built up big. Every week there was stuff going on, and every week Forbidden Door. I thought Forbidden Door might have been one of the best builds because it made people interested in watching AEW stars fight New Japan stars or commingle. And I even enjoyed it. So, I thought that build was pretty decent. I'm just saying this just feels messy. Doesn't feel organized. I know AEW the night before they do that little special that they air for 30 minutes and they'll have interviews with a few commentators and some of the wrestlers and they build it up. But I think, you can't take that away from WWE. Like they will build up, hype up a match and they will just instill it in your brain and really make it feel more important sometimes than what it actually is. A lot of these matches, it just doesn't feel like there's been a real strong build to it. So, and by the way, look at Ortiz and Ruby Soho. We had a promo. They cut a promo yesterday on Rampage, and they're calling out Guevara and Ty Conti. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. How many weeks ago did Ortiz get his head shaved, and they're bringing that up now? And by the way, if you had your head shaved that many weeks ago and you're that upset about it, why aren't you letting it grow back more? And they're like really pissed off. And, Ortiz yesterday, fight me. I'm like, it took you 3 weeks to say that? That's not his fault. That's AEW Creative's fault. Do you realize, unless I'm wrong, chat room, before we wrap this up, answer me this. Did they ever do a segment where the Dark Order was questioning why Anna Jay joined the Jericho Appreciation Society? Have we ever seen the Jericho Appreciation Society with Anna Jay? Was there ever a confrontation? Maybe there was one and somehow I missed it. Has there ever been a segment where the Dark Order went up to Anna Jay and say, why are you leaving us? Why are you leaving? Everybody's saying no. Why are you leaving us? So how ridiculously stupid is that going to look when the Dark Order sooner or later is going to get jobbed out to the Jericho Appreciation Society, and then suddenly we're going to have a backstage segment with John Silver and Alex Reynolds are going to look at Anna Jay, why did you leave us? Things like that are a big... Mohammed says BTE. BTE is a YouTube show for the Young Bucks. We're talking about storyline on television. Television is what matters. I have seen nothing. Nothing. And to me, that is awful. That is awful. And that's why, I personally think, I think that is a part of the problem with the ratings decline. I don't know how, the ages of everyone out there, but I'll leave you with this. You go back in the day at a TV show, any TV show you want, crime drama, anything, a soap opera, whatever you want, a TV show, and it's a weekly show. I go back in the day, some shows like Three's Company, let's say, when I was a kid, every show, the plot was different. But if you watch the show like Magnum PI, well, that would be different. But if you went like Dallas or any of these, I don't watch that stuff. I hated that stuff. My point is, when you have a soap opera, and that's what wrestling is a soap opera. When you have a soap opera, you want the following week to pick up where last week left off. And anything that went down the week before, you want to build it the following week. Maybe it shifts in a different direction. Maybe it goes deeper. Maybe there's a conclusion. And yes, I understand in pro wrestling, not every part of a soap opera can be continued the following week. You can do things which would write somebody off of TV for 2 or 3 weeks. But the problem is, when I use the Anna Jay example, Anna Jay was a big part of the Dark Order. Maybe she wasn't the focal point, but everybody loved Anna Jay in the Dark Order. And the Dark Order was a big deal amongst AEW fans. The minute she joins the Jericho Appreciation Society, you don't even take 60 seconds out of TV time to just have the Dark Order approach Anna Jay and say, why are you leaving us? It's a heartbreaking moment for people who really love the Dark Order, but why are you leaving us? And they never bothered to even do that. When you look at Miro, it's taking him 9 fucking weeks before the Redeemer gets his hands on the pagans. How ridiculous does it look? He comes out with sunglasses. He stares down. 2 weeks later, he's off TV. A week later, he shows up again. He stares someone down. A week later, he's off TV. A week later, he beats up Buddy Matthews on a show that does 450,000 viewers. Wednesday, probably nothing. You know, it's like people tune in the following week. There's a lot of story that's not being continued. And when something is thrown in the back burner and then it comes back 2 months later, people are like, oh, that is thought out booking. That's not thought out booking. That's a mess. That's a mess. And there's a lot of that. And, you know, look, we don't have obviously the answers to a lot of their problems. We don't get paid to be the answers, but it's going to be interesting to see with Tony Khan. And look, everything I said today about Tony Khan stuff with TV is sausage. So it's going to develop. You'll see it. But it's going to be interesting to see if it generates viewers. And you don't want to get in desperation mode. Putting this match on free TV, you know, like I said before, it reminded me of this. There it is. It reminded me of Hogan versus Goldberg at the Georgia Dome. You know, almost no notice whatsoever. And now we're getting this. Now, I expect Moxley and Punk to be better than Hogan Goldberg that night. But in your right mind, why would that not headline main event go off the air, the All Out pay-per-view for $60 a pop? Why would you do that on TV? That is being done on TV to further a storyline, but also to try to get these fucking ratings not just past 1 million, but, you know, you can't even get 1.1 million with your major players out there. I don't think people realize how huge that is that the rating went down last week. Well, people really didn't know that Omega. Don't give me that shit. Don't give me that shit. Most people thought or hoped that it was going to be Omega. It was going to be a big surprise. You know, you had everything else that we brought up, and there's a lot of things I didn't even bring up from that night. And the rating goes down. Goes down. There's no excuse. And you can't just write it off like, well, they're still in the top 5. No. The answer, the question is, how do you explain that some of your wrestling fans that normally watch decided, nah, I'll watch it on a replay. And all the other wrestling fans that are not tuning in, that didn't spark enough, like, hey, you know, I'm going to check it out Wednesday and see what's going on. You know, NXT did 723. That's up from 597. 723. Yeah, that's only 270,000 viewers less than Dynamite. 270 might still sound like a big number, but, you know, that's very concerning. Look at the payroll on NXT. Look at the payroll on Dynamite. And you realize that you're going to pay tens of millions of dollars more for another 300,000 viewers. So believe me when I tell you, no one in their right mind out there ever expected AEW to still be stuck around 1 million with all of the additions they have done over the last 12 months. If we went through that list and showed every person that they have brought aboard over the last 12 months, and they're still around 1 million, could you imagine what the ratings would be right now if they didn't sign any of those people? I'm very curious what those numbers would be. You know, it almost reminds me of Impact a little bit. Impact, you know, they bring in some bigger names, and, you know, you see they got Kushida there now, and, you know, they had a lot of New Japan stars that were there, and, you know, still could not move the needle. And you think to yourself, my God, what would the Impact rating be if AEW never got involved, or they didn't have, you know, a lot of these New Japan stars, or they didn't have, you know, Jonah or Kushida, who's there now. They had the Briscoes there, and they still couldn't pop numbers. I mean, so that's why I think fans are just going to tune in. I personally think there's probably about 700,000 fans, 800,000 fans that AEW has that will tune in every single week. They'll miss a week once in a while, But overall, you got about 800,000 fans that are going to tune in pretty much no matter what. They're home on Wednesdays, they're going to watch. That extra 100,000 are fans that, under the right matches or teasers, yeah, they'll tune in for a week. And then, that's pretty much it. And you have others, look, why WWE that does 2 million viewers, 2,300,000 viewers, 2.3 million. You ask yourself, why do those 1.4 million still refuse to watch AEW? Why is that? Why can't Tony Khan break through and get any of those 1.4 million SmackDown viewers to tune in on Wednesday night to Dynamite? What do they have to do to break through that? I don't think you can ever come up with an answer. You really can't. So let's see if the blurred lines, make any impact. We'll see. I personally think the biggest problem with AEW is the climate online. When someone, we talked about it last week, and I'll leave you with this. We talked about it last week. For the first 3 years, there was a lot of people online that were like embarrassing people. If you said, I like WWE, but AEW is not for me. What are you, fucking stupid? The fuck is wrong with you? And they embarrass you. And if you express a little bit of criticism about AEW, about some of the people there, you get mobs after you. And no one in AEW ever created that climate like, look, we're for everyone. And if there's something you don't like, speak up. We want to hear it. We want to try to please everyone out there. We want to give a little bit for everyone. And then when you have those very powerful journalists and podcasters who are belittling people because they don't like this, because they don't know this history, because they don't understand this, because they didn't like this, because they thought this was average and not all that great, they can't just say, just leave it alone. Okay, that person is, giving their opinion. No, they got to make you feel like there's something wrong with you. They got to make you feel like you're inferior. They got to make you feel like, that you're just not a wrestling fan. Who the fuck wants to be part of that? I mean, if you notice, people that don't even like WWE will tweet 50 times about Raw. It's a little different now with Triple H at the helm, but even before that, people that say that they hate WWE program will tweet 100 times about Raw or SmackDown. And they still speak. Why? Because they want their voice heard. They want their comments to be seen. But yet, when you write something that goes against them, they don't want your comments to be seen. Who the hell wants to be involved or follow a product where they can't run on social media and give their opinion and say, I really didn't like this. I don't understand why are you pushing this person? I don't get this. I don't get that. When you feel like you're doing something wrong, like, man, I ain't going to waste my time. I'm telling you, and no one in AEW tries to calm that down or call some of these people out. Hey, don't be, the only time they do it is when someone acts like a homophobe, someone acts like a racist, someone acts like a bigot, someone criticizes the women. Whenever it gets to a social issue, that's when people speak up. But when it's just calling out wrestling fans simply for criticizing something they see on TV, and I don't blame people for being turned off by that shit. So, all right, we got a pair of run-ins before I go off. John Vickers just sent over a 2-spot just because, and I appreciate that, John. Thank you very much. It all goes to good cause. You know that. And thank you. And also shout out to King of Games 405 with a $4.99 spot. ADT, I'm not sure if you answered this, but was I surprised by the quarter-hour rating breakdown for Dynamite? No, I didn't. I saw the quarter-hour ratings, but it's the overall number. It's the overall number. It's just, back in the day, I pay attention to trends. One trend that I noticed more and more, we've talked about this before, but of course, nobody else talks about it because you can't bring this up. I noticed the Young Bucks quarter hours were a lot less than what they used to be. And I think the problem with that is, look, when they were coming out with the $10,000 sneakers and all of that, yeah, you wanted to see them get their ass kicked. I think the problem is who they're actually facing. We all like great matches. The last thing that anybody wants is, to go to a show or tune into a TV show or buy a pay-per-view and see awful matches. The only time you have a good time is when the matches are so awful that you just you just go into business for yourself and you're chanting other things. I know it's insulting to the wrestlers, but hey, if you give me a crappy product, I think people will try to entertain themselves. But, having good quality matches only goes so far. I don't care if something is 5-star. I don't care if something is 6-star. I don't care if something is 3-star. If something is 0 stars, I might want to check it out just to see what the fuck was so awful about this. And you'd be like, yeah, wow, that was awful. But I'm not going to watch something if the people are not my favorites or people that I look forward to seeing. I'm sorry, I'm not going to watch Yuta Michinoku, Wheeler Yuta versus, blah, 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 simply because it was a 5-star match. I don't want to see that. Bandito versus Yuta, all right, maybe I'll watch it. I'm not going to go out of my way. So I don't care about 5-star matches. Give me good storylines. Give me a continuous feel that it's carrying over every week, and don't just throw shit together simply because that's what Tony Khan loves. Because what Tony Khan loves is not what I love a lot of the times. And when you see how those tweets are gone now, everyone. Remember those tweets? Well, Trent versus Samoa Joe was a personal favorite of mine. Samoa Joe versus Minoru Suzuki was on my bucket list, and that was my favorite. Good for you. Let him wrestle in your bedroom. Let him wrestle in your living room. Let him wrestle in your pool. All right? Putting that shit out there, you're basically just telling everyone, it's like, it's my show. I have the money. These are the matches I always want to see, and I'm going to see them, goddammit, and you're going to like it too because this is my product, and you're supposed to like it because it's a great fucking match, and everybody should love it. And that kind of turns some people off. People want to feel like Triple H is changing things, try to appease all wrestling fans out there. You don't want to feel like Triple H is throwing things out there simply to please himself. Because that's what people hated about Vince McMahon. He's putting certain gimmicks, character storylines, and pushing it because it pleased him, because he enjoyed it and thought what was best for him. You didn't feel like Vince was pushing things unless a very rare occasion, because that's what's best for business, even if I don't like it. Yeah, I like to pay attention about trends in wrestling. And when we talked about 2.0, when they were in WWE, we talked about the grizzled young veterans. We talked about even Breezango towards their end in NXT. You saw those big quarter-hour ratings drop. It can happen in any week. But, when you see it consistently happening, there's a problem there. So it's the overall rating, man. You have less people tuning into your product. Those are less possible paying customers. I don't care about a certain demographic. You show me the demo breakdown of merchandise sales. You show me the demo breakdown of pay-per-view buys. You show me the demo breakdown. The demo breakdown is important for the advertisers, the networks, and the promotion. Should not be important for us. I'm not going to watch Dynamite simply because the demo for 25 to 54 was a 0.36. Oh, look at the demo. I don't care what the demo is. I'll watch it whether I like it or I don't. I liked NXT. There were times I didn't like NXT, and people were like, oh, the average viewer of NXT is 55. What does that mean? Does that mean that 20-year-olds should not watch it because it's targeted for 55-year-olds? Happy 19-month anniversary, Rojo Bear, who is a channel member. Special shout out to everybody who is in green. When you're seeing green letters on the screen, they are channel members. Much love, much appreciated. And with that said, we went a little bit longer than expected, but we had some very important conversation to have today, because by Wednesday we will see the next step with CM Punk and that championship, Moxley as well. And we'll see where this progresses to. I don't think anyone else out there is going to have the conversation that we had today. You might see someone do it a week or two from now, once it sinks in and now it becomes more obvious, because that's what a lot of people were doing with MJF. We were talking about that shit the night that they claimed that he was getting on a plane. 2 weeks later, once it becomes pretty much common sense, then, everybody talks about it and everybody comes off as geniuses. But this conversation, let's see how this pans out starting Wednesday. So, all right, that's it. Now, if you have any additional questions or comments, you have two options. You could post it in the comment section here once I post the show and this is over with, or tomorrow night at 8:05 p.m. Eastern, I will be back here for the sit down. And as I always do, I show up with a blank piece of paper, and everybody who is live, you create the show. You legitimately create the show. You bring up the topics for discussion. You ask the questions you want to ask. You express your comments about what you want to express, and super chats are not required. Obviously, they're appreciating you get VIP treatment, but this is for everyone. So you tune in tomorrow. I guarantee if you tune in and you pose a question, I will answer it. You have a comment, I will express it. So that starts tomorrow at 8:05 p.m. Eastern, and I will be sitting right in this seat, and I hope you can join me. So, on the way out, smash that like button. It helps more than you know. That would be very, very cool. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. It's going to be a good weekend. Me, I'm rattled for obvious personal reasons, but we'll have some fun tomorrow. So much love, everyone. Good night, good afternoon, maybe good morning for some of you. I'll see you all soon. Ciao.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.